I think you said Joe. I'm gonna call this meeting to order at 7:30. Will you please rise? Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight thanking you for all your many blessings. We thank you that we live in a country that we can come together and make decisions to govern our lives. We ask you to guide this council as they make these decisions. We ask you to be with our fire, EMS, and police. We ask you also to be with our men and women in the armed services around the world. We ask this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, I don't know if y'all heard, but our city secretary has turned in a resignation, so tonight we have Ms. Rhonda Grimmel. They know R&N, is it? Gimmel. Helping us. In the meantime, she's helping out. She has been being cross-trained, so the city bills will be paid, the city employees will be paid. So we're in the process of going through the process of hiring a new city secretary, but in the meantime, she's graciously helping us out. So will you do roll call for us?
I sure will. Okay. Mayor Burgess.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Davey, absent. Councilmember Prezak. Present. Councilmember Wood.
Present.
Councilmember Scott. Present. And Councilmember Tremaine.
Present. Thank you. We have a forum. Announcements and presentations by the mayor. Cell phones are to be turned off or placed on vibrate silent only. No conversation or comments from the audience is permitted unless specifically called upon by the mayor. Please remain respectfully quiet.
I'm working on it, sorry.
Thanks, Chief,
Trying to turn it off.
for showing us the example of what we're not supposed to do.
Oh, welcome.
I appreciate that. But anyway, moving on. The citizens' public comment period. Do we have anybody sign up for public comment?
We did, we had to. I'm not sure if they're still here or.
Buzz Brown and Tiffany Dempsey.
They both left. Okay.
Yeah, they left.
I guess maybe they got theirs in. So anyway, we'll move on to, what's this on here for about the public hearing? Why was that included? It is part of the agenda.
That's,
Mistake, okay. I thought so. The consent agenda, all matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted upon by one motion. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Under the consent agenda, we have approval of the minutes of the January 11, 2016 City Council Workshop and the January 11, 2016 City Council Special Meeting. Number 2, ratify the payment of bills for the month of January 2015.
say 2016.
It's supposed to be 2016, January 27. Ratify the payment of bills for the month of January 2016. That's all that's on the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the consent agenda? If there's no questions or comments, then the floor is open for a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I make a motion we accept the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion by Councilmember Prezak, second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Scott. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Motion carried. Moving along, item for individual discussion. Number 3, discuss and consider approval of resolution number 01-2016. It's calling and ordering the general election to be held by the city of Venus jointly with the Venus Independent School District on May 7, 2016, for the purpose of electing 3 city council members, placed 3, 4, and 5, to the Venus City Council, approving the joint agreement, designating locations of polling places, providing early voting information, ordering notices of election to be given as prescribed by law in connection with such election. So, this is pretty straightforward. We have an election every May for the city council this year. Place 3, 4, and 5 are up. And we have to officially call by resolution the election. So is there any questions? Comments? The floor is open for a motion to approve resolution 21-01-2016.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution number 01-2016.
Have a motion by Councilmember Hernandez, second by Councilmember Wood. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Excuse me. Number 4, discuss and consider approval of resolution 02-2016, authorizing Police Chief Mike Fay to move forward with a grant awarded for the body worn camera program to the Office of the Governor, Criminal Justice Division. Chief, can you tell us where we're at?
Sure. Yeah, we submitted and received preliminary approval for right around $8,700 in grant funding for body cameras. The city has to match funds. I think it's around $1,800 in order to purchase those cameras. The final numbers aren't set exactly because there can be some manipulation and maneuvering on the amount of cameras we're actually going to purchase over the next couple months. But basically what this resolution is one of the first steps in the process. We also have to work with the DA's office in formulating our body camera policy and procedures and make sure they're going to accept our body camera video. So there's a few other things to be done, but the application finalization process doesn't actually start till March 1st. So this is kind of getting a jump start on the resolution process.
I know you've been testing different body cameras. Have you found one that you prefer yet?
Right now, the other ones we're testing, personally, I'm kind of leaning towards a WatchGuard camera. When we get new patrol vehicles, we're going to be moving to a WatchGuard in-camera system for the vehicles. The body camera that's made by that same company also syncs with those in-car cameras. And the downloading process for us to be able to burn videos for the court and all that is very easy. Also, the resolution is much greater, and the night resolution is much greater on the WatchGuard cameras. So right now, that's kind of where we're leaning, if we can get the 10 cameras for the right price.
So, if the grant fully funded and matched with the city, how many cameras would that?
We have to get 10 body cameras for that. For that right around $10,000, we have to get 10 body cameras for that.
Okay. Any other questions?
You said it's a match grant.
There's a city portion to that. So the city has, I think it's around 20%. The governor's office is doing, like I said, right, $8,500, $8,700, somewhere in there, and then we match it. The total grant project's right around $10,000.
Do we have the money in your department?
Yes, we
To
do.
do that?
Yes, sir.
And special projects.
Okay.
Any other questions? And I'll open the floor for a motion to approve resolution number 02-2016.
Make a motion, we approve resolution number 02-2016.
Motion made by Councilmember Prazak, second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Hernandez. All in favor? All in favor? Motion carries. Number 5, receive annual racial profiling report by the chief.
Yes, sir. Before I did that, I wanted to make sure to mention real quick. Tom, will you stand up for a second? Council hasn't had a chance to meet Tom Russell. He came over to us from Ferris, has a lot of experience over there, was our National Night Out coordinator, had really a lot of success with that program last year in Ferris, and we're hoping he brings that same kind of thing to our community. I know we had a National Night Out program in October that was not really well planned since we just came on, but we're looking forward to things he can do for the city. You want to say anything to him, Tom? He's overly qualified. We're really happy to have him here at the police department.
No, I'm glad to be here. I mean, it's been a great group of guys and girls here. I've met a few of y'all so far, so hopefully I'll get around and get a chance to meet everybody. I'm very down to earth, so if you see me out, even if I'm driving through, I don't live here. I live in Waxahachie, but if I pass through, you can approach me. I'll talk to you anytime, any subject. So, and I want to bring that to the city, get everybody together. I heard a little bit of the meeting earlier. Everybody's kind of at ends on the stuff, but at the end of the day, I want the city to grow and everybody come together and just make it a great place to work and live. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
And Tom's going to be actually moving to night shift here soon, as soon as he gets out of training. So we'll have himself, and then Chris Rodriguez will be our night shift officers. So I'm sure you guys already had a chance to look at the racial profiling report. This is the racial profiling report that's required by state law that police departments do every year by March and present to the city council. As you can see in 2015, on page number 3 of your 4-page packet, it lists the number of citations and breaks those down in percentage of contact numbers. What I'd like to do is, it's probably easier to compare on page 4 of 4, because we can compare 2015 numbers to the racial profile report you received last year in 2014. You can see that in 2015 our stops were down a little bit. However, we were also down in manpower significantly over that period of the year. The important thing for the racial profiling report is towards the bottom of the page, where it talks about our contacts based on Caucasian and race ethnicity. Our percentage for 2015 was actually 66.59% for Caucasian, and that actually went up a little bit from 2014, which was 64.43. Our African American contacts rose just slightly to 9.19%, and then Hispanic origin went down just a little bit from 23.36 down to 21.18. This is an important report to make sure that our officers are avoiding racial profiling, which is, we have a strict policy prohibiting that practice. This is something that I'm going to monitor, and as we build these reports year after year, we'll continue to put that historic data in there so you guys would be alerted to any drastic changes in our racial profiling statistics.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Moving along, number 6, discuss and consider approval of a program of agreement on vehicle idling limitations presented by the Chief. You're back on? Back up, Chief.
This is an MOU that the City of Venus has previously had. Our MOU with TCEQ is expiring, and this just renews our vehicle idling memorandum with TCEQ and allows our local officers to enforce that restriction on vehicles over 14,000 pounds in gross weight, idling over 5 minutes while parked, as opposed to the state enforcing those restrictions. Allows our local officers to enforce those restrictions.
So basically, it is allowing our officers, giving them the authorization to enforce.
Correct. The state law.
The state law. Any questions? Comments?
I know I mentioned something about the train last time about it. How about the train?
This does not apply to rail. This is only vehicle traffic, gross weight over 14,000 pounds.
I know back then they used to sit right out there all night long running.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's been as much of a problem. I noticed there's a few more trucks parking in town, now, and it's mainly a part about education. And one thing is, once we renew this memorandum, we can also get signs that North Texas Council of Governments will supply to the city. Maybe we can put up some of the signs around the city streets, just to let the truck drivers know that they can't idle for more than 5 minutes. So it's part of an education campaign as well as an enforcement campaign. And just like we've done on, you guys have probably seen some of the red cards we're putting out for traffic. We're really trying to educate the community on our parking expectations. We'll do the same thing for the truckers and make sure they understand what our expectations are before we go write those tickets.
Well, being that I'm in that field, there are trucks that run on natural gas. There's trucks that run on DIF, if you know what that is.
Yeah, I've heard about it, yes.
And it's a mixture with the diesel that makes it burn cleaner. And they have stickers on the side of the truck, and it says, clean air. And supposedly, the way I understand it, those trucks are exempt from this idling standards, is that?
There are exemptions in the packet.
Is that your understanding?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I believe it's on page 2 of the Rules Act of Voting Exemptions. But there are exemptions that our officers would, and we would only be enforcing what state law lets us enforce, so it's not gonna be anything extraordinary.
We didn't print one for each, there's 38 pages long, so we didn't print out the whole thing, but we do have 2 copies of here if someone's interested in reading the whole thing.
I just had that my one specific question. Anybody else got any questions or comments on this?
And the weight on the vehicle was what now?
It's 14,000, greater than 14,000 pounds. And one thing that does, some of your, local delivery trucks, like if you're delivering bread or something like that, while they're bringing stuff in, most of those are under 14,000 pounds. So it's going to mainly apply to your semi trucks.
Because there's some trucks that are offloaded their groceries at the school, and truck will be running all that time offloading.
There is an exemption for that if they're actually in the process of making an active delivery. So this is for the most part, this is like a truck driver who's going to pull over and sleep and let the truck idle with, if they have a sleeper. That's predominantly what this is going to encompass.
Okay, thank you.
And this is just a side note, I've never really, I understand why they don't want dirty air, but, how the trucker is supposed to sleep in July without the air conditioner on.
Absolutely.
I just, it's seen, they want him to get a good night's sleep so he's not dangerous on the road, but they're gonna tell him you gotta sleep in an oven. It just doesn't make sense, but I know it's all about the clean environment.
Yeah, and this isn't implementing a new law for the city. This state law already exists and is enforced by state troopers and the TCEQ people. This just allows our officers to enforce that already current state law.
And then how about if they're in the city limits, but out away from town and park at a third location, how would that work?
I believe it, I'm not sure, Mayor, maybe you can talk to that more. If in the state, if you're outside of the city limits, is that something that the state's going to get you on?
Yeah, they can, but I've been driving for 30 years. This has been an issue probably for the last 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
I've never been issued a ticket for it. I've never been stopped by a state trooper, county, or a city and asked to turn my truck off.
Yeah.
So it's something they can enforce, but they don't heavily enforce.
And I think probably what we would, we would probably get called on it more frequently if it were a problem, like if they parked outside of your neighborhood on 67, just pulling over the side of the road, and you were hearing that truck running out there. It would allow us the opportunity to go out there and enforce the law and get that truck either moved or turned off. But we probably wouldn't be driving around looking for this type of behavior frequently.
Thank you.
And most of the newer trucks that have been built in the last 5 years have one of these exemptions in them, the depth or the natural gas, and they're all starting, all the new regulations require it, and most of the trucks that are 8, 10, 12 years old that are the ones I think they're targeting, but I'd say there's it's not heavy enforcement, it's more like like you said, if you park close to a neighborhood and somebody calls in and complains, they have a flaw that's in a process that they can do something about it.
Thank you.
Well, there's no more questions or comments. I'll open the floor for a motion to approve a memorandum agreement on vehicle idling limitations. I have a motion by Council Member Scott, second. Second by Council Member Wood, all in favor?
That's abstaining.
Opposed? Abstained? We have 3 in favor. Ms. Prazak, Mr. Woods, and Ms. Scott, and 1 abstention, Mr. Hernandez. Motion carries. Number 7, Discussion and consider approval of a noise ordinance number 422-2016, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Venus, Texas, ordering the amendment of Chapter 6, Animal, Section 6-1 to delete 2 definitions, provisions, and et cetera. I mean, would you like to explain what we're doing, James?
With noise ordinance, or?
Yes.
Well, basically, this is a branch off of what we did in the last workshop, where Cass, myself, and Officer Halstead were able to talk about the importance of the noise ordinance, and I believe Cass got some of your input on what a good ordinance would look like for the City Council. This is important to us, as we've talked about before, being able to enforce some of those things that are causing a quality of life issue for our citizens in the community. And I believe I've looked it over, and I think Cass has done an excellent job of kind of completing, the ability for citizens to address this issue on their own while filing a complaint and making a log and gathering some of the evidence themselves, as well as promising to testify, while allowing officers to also to respond to those problems if we need to. You think this is, you've had a chance to
No,
look
I
over
agree,
it?
yeah, it's, and the issue we had too in the past is with the animal, by state law, we ran into, if you have somebody complaining about, it's one house complaining about another neighbor with their dogs, it's just one complaint. Now, technically, you can go door to door and say, everybody, are you having an issue? So with this, instead of having to go get affidavits and spend all that time about a barking dog, you can go ahead and do a citation.
So, under the current ordinance, noise ordinance we have, you're saying is we have to have 2 separate households making a complaint about one specific dog.
Yes.
And this would change it how? You'd only need one complainant plus the officer observing the noise?
Well, the officer independently could observe the noise and it be in violation, as long as it's beyond the reasonable person standard. Wouldn't necessarily have to have a particular complainant, but the benefit to it is when you're thinking about a barking dog, it's 2 complainants for that particular offense. And so if on Wednesday a dog's barking and one neighbor calls and complains, and then Thursday happens and a different neighbor calls and complains, it's a different noise complaint. That's 2 different violations. So you still only have one person complaining. You could theoretically go back and talk to the person from Wednesday, but that requires a lot of travel back and forth and trying to see if the person's bothered on Thursday that was bothered Wednesday. It's really confusing for the neighborhood.
Trying to catch them at home.
Right, and so what this allows us is just a reasonable standard for citizens. Plus, if the police go out and we're not observing the noise and we can't issue the citation, we can refer you the steps that you need to take as a neighbor. So you can say document the noise, record when it's happening. You can even record it with your phone and be able to document that for the court, and then go file your own complaint, and that way it kind of removes the police from the entire process. If a neighbor is causing a lot of problem for you, you can get them into court and hopefully resolve the situation without even the police being involved.
Is there, for anyone that hasn't had an opportunity to read the ordinance, is there any other significant changes?
But I think it adds some really good things, such as the music problem that we maybe have with stereos and things like that. So it's not just about a barking dog, it's about any quality of life noise problems in our city that's based on a reasonable person standard. So if we go out and somebody's doing something that's unreasonable, then there's an opportunity to us to address that issue and issue a citation if we need to. However, by policy, what we're going to do is make sure we issue warnings as much as possible in a given 24-hour period. And then, if we've been out the house a second time, then we'll start issuing those citations most of the time.
Any additional questions or comments from the council? Well, if there's no additional questions or comments, then I'll open the floor for a motion to approve the noise ordinance number 422-2016.
I'll make the motion to approve the ordinance number 422-2016.
Have a motion by Councilmember Hernandez, second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Prazak. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Number 8, discussion and possible action on whether to accept or reject landowner David Hogg's request for 2 tracts of land to become part of the Venus ETJ. It's ordinance number 423-2016. This is the continuation of what we've Ms. Stowe has been doing for months now. And we've been also accepting, landowners into our ETJ to protect them from being annexed by other cities that are coming this way. So this is just another continuation. Is there any questions or comments on his ordinance? You want to start? Okay. Well, if there's no questions or comments, I'll open the floor to approve ordinance 423-2016.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 423-2016.
I have a motion by Councilmember Hernandez, second by Councilmember Scott. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Number 9, accept resignation from City Secretary Angie Wade. Now, this is unfortunate, but Ms. Wade she had a lot of experience as a city secretary. She had a lot of experience in the finance end of it, and she had the opportunity to move along to a larger city that can unfortunately pay better. Significantly better than we could. And I can't blame her a bit. So, if there's any questions or comments about her resignation, if not, I'll open the floor to a motion to accept her as Wade's resignation as City Secretary of Venus. Motion by Ms. Scott, second.
A second.
Second by Ms. Prazak. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Number 10, discussion and consider appointing a city secretary for the city of Venus. At this time, I'm going to adjourn this meeting into executive session so we can conduct some interviews at 7:56.